April 29th, 2022. On the evening news tonight, a few nights ago they talked about gerrymandering. Tonight they're talking about New York redistricting plan in New York. A judge actually moved the date. It's now April. They moved the date for the next election till August. I can only assume from this point, really not knowing anything else, that as a couch potato, logic for me would say forget, throw out all pre-planning events and so on and so forth. If it's on a day-to-day calendar like I'm on with nothing on it in particular, just some reaction to whatever already occurred without any real free control or any free will or anything that the humans speak of, that they say that they're allowed under the Constitution and in this area. It would seem to me that for some form of a fair election, FAA airwaves would be able to be regulated, so this way they know who's in, who's out of New York State, since residency at some level becomes a problem with ambassadorships and scholars being whoever they are and having access to private air flight that doesn't even go through like a LaGuardia or something along those lines. So it really gives no excuses to any future eras between now and the primaries, and whatever the primaries are. I don't even really know, because it doesn't explain it in my paperwork that I got from the local elementary school. And the same level of education that I was given in New York State, not knowing who's dictating it or who's creating it, but knowing that at some level it works, and it has a system that's involved in it, but there's been several layers that are whatever at the moment. So, between now being April and August, it really gives New York a chance to clean house, for lack of a better term, for all the unsuspecting whatever, like myself, who just arrived and was expecting something very different. I might be one of that. But others who arrived here, grew up here, didn't really have many expectations of here. Some found out along the way that they should expect more than what they were given. And then some of us were kept completely in the dark for reasons still can't explain. This is what's on the evening news this evening. It's Friday and it's April 28th, I think. 29th, Friday 29th.
Really big news tonight in the redistricting mess in New York State. A judge tonight rescheduling the congressional and state senate primary election for August 23rd. This after the appeals court threw out a redistricting plan because it was unconstitutional. The other primary state elections, like for the race for governor, that remains set for June 28th. The former New York Governor David Paterson telling me during a taping of Up Close today, he thinks the entire primary should be delayed.
We're within 2 months of the...
I don't know who this guy is. They say that he was inside New York government at some point. I've never really seen him. Like, he doesn't ring a bell. He doesn't look like he was part of any plan. I don't know how things worked out where he was moved into an office of something important. Again, like, the New York government feels like it's been rogue since I was little or before I arrived.
June 28th scheduled primary, I think that would only be the fairest way to do that. It doesn't really affect the governor, but I don't think people should be voting for the governor and lieutenant governor in June and then voting for the rest of the state offices in August. I think that tires the public. It is in the middle of the summer. I think backing up the primary would be better. I sued the state of New York.
Expensive as well. Meanwhile, special master appointed today to draw up the new redistricting map. And you can watch my entire interview with Governor Patterson on Up Close Sunday morning at 11 right here on Channel 7. Still ahead, Numbers News at 6. Legal.
Special master has been whatever. They don't say who, they don't say what. It's just something different than what's been going on for the last however long they've been running this way. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. On a separate program, on here, I showed earlier with Lee Goldberg, part of the Northeast, or the 13 colonies, or whichever, the map has that losing of the direction, like it just spins a little bit, the arrows, and then some burst out, and then some are coming in the opposite direction. And again, it has a legend, but not one where I have like a decipher on my end and know exactly which layer of the, is it ground friction that's an issue with full circuit completion between the orbital atmosphere and then the ground, or terra firma circuitry. I'm not sure. But then on the world news tonight with David Muir, they had a different meteorologist tonight, which they don't normally have on. I've only seen him in extreme weather situations. And I forget the gentleman's name. But he shows a Midwest forecast where there's severe, it's like severe storms in a pattern, but you can also at the same time see the lines running, where it reminds me, like, I say that with my own personal body mechanic and like the loss of posture and the ability to like stand upright, almost in a if you have like a master puppeteer and the marionette, the puppet from the marionette's strings, if a string falls off of the marionette's control and the puppet all of a sudden can't move the same as it did before, almost like that, but in a 3D sense, of a six-dimensional space, perhaps, without putting too much specificity on it, but as though somebody hot-wired the fiber optics, perhaps, as a word that the locals use. And now these fiber optics are running in all sorts of directions that make no sense. But it feels like someone's hot wiring the atmosphere, the weather, the climate, and the body mechanics in this area, New York especially, I don't know about elsewhere, are really having orthopedic, kinesthetic, physical therapy, and animated, quantifiable problems, especially as the decades have gone on and the enhancements of these technological institutes with this mass migration of I don't know who, like descending upon the interior of the United States in results that I have no idea how they got authority to even enter. But there's more important and scary things that are affecting the ability to be human right now. I'm going to try to find the David Muir map. Oh, and it looks like he's off tonight, and I don't remember this gentleman's name, so please forgive me. It's not labeled at the bottom.
Americans in the path of dangerous weather tonight. Tornado watches from Oklahoma to Nebraska at this hour. This tornado here striking Nebraska in the past 24 hours, and now they're bracing for more. While in the west, critical fire danger. Let's get right to ABC's senior meteorologist Rob Marciano. And Rob, a difficult night ahead in parts of the Midwest.
Yeah, Wade, it's becoming an expansive storm with a lot of hazards, tornadoes being the most dangerous. We've got 3 states under watches right now. Take a look.
It's these. This part is not what I'm looking at is how this is running this way while these are running up this way. And then this is coming around here. And then, like, these wisps, let's put it this way, in, like, really, really easy, hard labor mechanics that I actually have completed by hand myself in this journey. When you're on the job site with some of the local professionals, they talk of buttering the floor. And then you butter the tile when you're putting it in some kind of cement position. And you try to go an alternate stroke before you set the tile. So there's some kind of bonding, whatever. What I'm looking at here feels like it's the opposite of what the weather needs in that thought pattern of that works to adhere tiles to the mortar, to the floor, when you're setting your own flooring. But in weather pattern, to see it coming undone like strands of quantum quirk, like bad mathematical equations, but in a geological, like, morphing state with the weather pattern, because I don't have the words or vocabulary for it. I'm looking at this map and it just feels so incredibly messy. I mean, even tapered at the edges, coming in over here and over here. And without arrows, it just feels very, very scratchy, very forced, very sloppy. And this is an even harder possibility, but I know what I mean. And I know there's got to be at least the one person I was built for that understands what I mean. If this is a visual cortex map for specificity, with all these little imprints on it, if all of these are pulling things in opposite directions, some form of a viral code that's been put into a quantum state, perhaps. And they're at such an abundance right now of keystrokes and fiber optics and telephone numbers and Mbps speeds and all these things that the normal household person sitting in a chair between their whatever and their whatever. It's what if Spectrum's the one who's billing as the utility company, I expect for what they say to me to be whatever it is. I live in that world. But then I look at maps like this and I'm just like, physically, I feel drained. And there's possibilities that I can see very vividly and clearly of what's draining the natural energy from my ability to perform like a normal 43-year-old. This is what the map looks like when it's moving.
Nebraska, right through Kansas, all the way down to the Texas border, and we've got flood watches that are posted in areas that had the blizzard just last week. All right, this thing presses to the east,
And I see, it's almost like I just saw it went like the lightning does, but in some kind of like some embedded electrical code, right on the map. And it went real quick, and then it flashed to the next screen. But if you slow it down, each one of those flashes is some unconditioned energies, the umbrella term I use for it. But I mean, being down on Earth, on this ground, and not having any control over any of this, and just watching this take place, I mean, I could feel it in my joints. I can feel it when I walk. I walk with such heavy step at the moment, and it's not controllable. And then I see things like this, and this quantum state where every single piece of visual that my body can pick up as a sign of something, every layer has some form of code, has some form of equation that goes to it. I know that for sure. What I'm unclear of is who's in charge of keeping that level of whatever clean. Because right now where I stand, it doesn't feel like clean code. It doesn't feel like a clean equation. And I feel very heavily weighted in density for reasons I can't explain. But I can see and relate to maps like this with these breaks in whatever was supposed, I don't know, again, if they're threads, if somebody just had some kind of slicing tool and they sliced things, and now you've got smaller bits of lines, one here, one little piece here, and they don't know how to string them back together once they made the slit or the cut. Again, that's a possibility for me of what it feels like when I get hit with these things, or the sharp shooting pains that I get at times. Not always. Sometimes I just chalk them off like Lynn does, in a human way of trying to make sense of things when I don't have a visual reference from the outside world. Here's the rest of this.
I have a lot of wind around it as well. The severe threat tomorrow is going to be Milwaukee, Chicago, down through Illinois into the heartland. But the wind and the dry air, that extreme fire threat again tonight for New Mexico through the high plains. Dry air, dry fuel, and ripping winds that will stoke and drive any new fire start. It's going to be an uneasy night for many. Whit?
Important to pay attention to those local weather alerts in your area. All right, Rob, thank you. Now to Oklahoma's governor, expected to sign this.
It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. And this is the pattern rectangle that I have in the area that's still flown. It's April 29th, 2022.